Hello student, this is Joyson here to help out with chapter 14 of your science syllabus, carbon and carbon compounds. Now what is so special about this element that a whole chapter is dedicated to this one single element, that is carbon. If you want to know why, we'll do a little experiment which will help you understand why this carbon is so special. The experiment which I'm going to do is the one you will love the most. I'm going to burn things up. Now, I'm not going to burn very rare things. I'm going to burn things which you find out in your surroundings every day. Like for example, I've taken some silk, some wooden article, some seeds of any fruit, some hairs, your hair, anybody's hair, and a feather of any bird. I'm going to burn these things up, and when I burn these things up, I find that all of the things change its color to black. Now, this is some query that we should always think about. If the color of the flame is orange or red or yellow, why are these substances turning black? Why do we associate the color black with anything that has been burnt? The answer to that is all these substances, when burnt, have a single common element, that is carbon. Every time there is a substance which has got burnt, it leaves behind a carbon residue, and that carbon residue is always black in color. So all these substances change its color from any of the colors to black. And this black color signifies the presence of carbon, meaning most of the things in this world have this carbon element in them. Let me tell you one interesting fact, that all human beings, or for that matter, all living things in this world have this special element carbon, and only because of this carbon is our survival happening. This carbon element, what is this carbon element? Let's understand this carbon element and its properties. This carbon element is the sixth element of the periodic table. If it is the sixth element, it will have 6 protons and 6 electrons. But imagine you have to write all the time carbon, carbon, carbon. You'll get bored, won't you? So these scientists have made your work easy by giving a symbol to this carbon. The symbol of this carbon is a capital C. As it has 6 protons or 6 electrons, its atomic number is 6. Atomic number meaning the number of electrons in one atom of this carbon. These 6 electrons are divided into 2 shells. 2 shells meaning the K shell and the L shell. The K shell has only the capacity of holding 2 electrons, meaning L shell will end up having 4, making the electronic configuration 2, 4. Now when it has the electronic configuration 2, 4, it has to find its stability by either making the duplet state, that is just 2, or 2, 8, that is the octet state. If it has to go to the duplet state, it has to lose its 4 electrons. But tell me, is it possible for a single atom to lose 4 electrons, thereby making it a strongly positive atom, attracting more electrons which are negative, making it unstable again? So what is the use of donating these 4 electrons in the first place when some other electrons are going to get attracted to it? So it cannot donate its 4 electrons, neither can it accept 4 electrons, because the total number of electrons will turn to 10 and the protons will still remain 6. Now the 6 protons are not able to hold on to this 10 electrons. So it neither can donate nor accept its electrons. So what it does, it shares its electrons. By sharing, I mean it shares its 4 electrons. If it shares its 4 electrons, someone else has to share its 4 electrons. Now by sharing 4, 4, the total number becomes 8, making the electronic configuration 2, 8, that is the octet state. Now the valency meaning to find its stability, what it has done. It has shared 4 electrons, meaning its valency becomes 4. Now, carbon shares its electrons with other elements to form covalent compounds. Whenever an element shares its electrons, it becomes a covalent compound. But if the electrons donate or accept electrons, it becomes a ionic compound. So carbon is one of the very few elements which form these covalent bonds. And because it has valency 4, it has 4 electrons that it has to share to find its stability. This carbon is always signified by joining 4 lines, meaning it has already shared its 4 electrons. So whenever you see a carbon atom joined with 4 lines, meaning this carbon atom has attained stability. And these lines are for 2 electrons shared between 2 elements. So every time this carbon will have 4 lines, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. Now this carbon, how did carbon form in nature? Carbon is mostly found in the form of coal. Now this coal is your kolsa, right? This coal, how did it form in nature? It is not a 1 or 2 day process. It is a process which takes about millions and millions of years. This coal was basically formed because of wet dry lands or wet marshy lands which went under the ground because of various floods or natural calamities. Like for example, if there is a tree on the top, on the earth's surface, when there are floods, the tree will fall and there will be a lot of mud which will cover up the tree. With the help of this diagram, we'll try to understand what happened to these trees. These trees, with the help of a lot of floods and the natural calamities, went under the ground. And more the mud was getting covered, what happened was the distance between the earth's core and these trees became less, making the temperature around the trees very high. Now if the temperature is high, also because of a lot of pressure from above, it changed into peat. Then this peat, because of more pressure and more heat, turned to lignite. And this lignite finally converted itself to coal. Now, this coal is found in many various forms. If the pressure and the heat is more, the better the coal. Like for example, this anthracite is the highest rank of coal available in nature. Anthracite is 80% of carbon, meaning it has predominantly 80% of carbon in its whole structure. The rest 20% is about hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and sulfur. If it has not formed anthracite, it would be bituminous coal, which contains 60% of carbon. And before that, it will be lignite, which has 22% of carbon. Now I was talking about a tree getting converted into coal. In this next picture, you can see minute roots or maybe things like vegetation getting converted into coal, which are getting converted into the color of black. This peat is the first form of carbon which has only 11% of the total carbon majority. This peat is converted into lignite and this lignite is finally converted into coal. Now let us understand what is this coal. We understand coal by the help of this unique property that carbon consists. This property is known as allotropy. To understand this allotropy, let us take an example of the great god Vishnu. Now this Vishnu god has 10 or maybe more than 10 avatars. Okay, that is, physical forms of Vishnu are 10. But whenever you pray to any of the avatar, what happens is the prayers reach to Vishnu Bhagwan. Vishnu Bhagwan has 10 physical forms but 1 spiritual form. Similar to that, this carbon has various physical forms like diamond, graphite and coal. But its chemical form is the same. And this allotropy means when elements are found in more than one form having same chemical properties but different physical properties, they are called allotropes. meaning diamond and graphite are various allotropes of carbon. This property of an element having various physical forms but the same chemical form is known as allotropy. This unique property is also there in elements like sulfur and phosphorus. Well, these allotropes are divided into two types. How many types? Two types, crystalline and amorphous. Crystalline meaning it has a very rigid, firm structure which is repeated after and after and after, making it a form and a correct form. Like for example, diamond. You always find diamond in a proper shape. It does not change its shape. But a physical form like coal, it changes its shape. Sometimes it's oval, sometimes it's square, sometimes it has the shape of an amoeba. You never know. So this coal is a amorphous form, and when you powder this coal, it turns into finite powder. Whereas this diamond cannot convert itself into fine powder. There will always be crystals of this diamond. More of this carbon we'll study with the help of this RoboMate. This is Joyson signing off. Bye-bye. Take care. Hope you had a great time.